welcome to my channel. My name is Marian, and in today's video I'm going to be doing a story time of the time that I was followed. This takes place about 4 or 5 years ago at this point. This was back when I used to be part of an MLM. I have so many crazy stories in regards to that, but it was just a crazy time. I know that there's people that still do MLMs, and this is just my story of the crazy things that I experienced while being in an MLM, and some of the crazy things that I now look back and I just can't believe that I did those things. I would not do any of this and don't recommend it, but this was just when I was very naive and just very trusting. So we're gonna go ahead and take this back about 4 years ago. I used to be a person that would contact people because that's what I was told. I was in a way told that I need to be meeting new people all the time and always trying to get them involved into the business. If that meant having to go to their homes and do a demonstration, which is something that they were very big on, trying to recruit people through first doing a presentation in their homes and trying to kind of sell them in whatever product we were selling, and then try to get them involved to be in the business. That is something that I would do, and I felt so uncomfortable doing it. It was completely out of my comfort zone. I am very shy and I don't really like speaking to many people that I don't know. It takes me a while to warm up to someone, but because it was part of the business, that was something that I had to do, was to put myself out there, get out of my comfort zone. And one of those things was try to get as many people into your team as possible. The majority of the time, all of these presentations would end up well, nothing crazy, but I did have the occasional creepy ones that it was either in a really bad neighborhood or in a bad area. As a single mother, I was trying to find ways to make more income, ways to put myself out there and really just make the most of it. So I was putting myself out there. You best believe that I was doing everything I could to try to grow, and sometimes it was very difficult. But I ended up doing crazy things like getting random people's numbers and going into random people's homes, which I do not recommend at all. That is so scary, especially now in these times that we live in. You just never know who you're gonna end up meeting and what intentions they have. Because I was trying to meet as many people as I could to try to present them with this business opportunity, I was putting myself in very crazy circumstances sometimes. But I always just try to stay focused and try to ignore the signs. Even if they felt uncomfortable, I would really interpret that as just me feeling uncomfortable because I didn't really like to speak to random people out in the street. But I ended up one time going to Ross, and that's where I really tried my best to find a way to speak to these ladies and just trying to find things that we had in common and try to make conversation with them. That's just what I ended up doing with this particular lady. She was looking at something in the home section, and she was looking for like cleaning supplies. She was like reading the labels on the back of the, I think it was like a bottle of wipes, and she was reading the label on the back of that. So I ended up going up to her and started a conversation with her. I asked her where she was from. She said she wasn't from the area. She was just visiting one of her family members, that she actually lived in a suburb very close to downtown Chicago. She said that she was interested in taking a look at the products that we had and she wanted to try something new. So she gave me her number and I told her that I would be calling her, which I ended up calling her a few days after. When I called her, I said, "Hi, do you remember me? I'm the girl that you met at Ross. I am just following up and just trying to check to see if you're still interested," which she told me she was. So I ended up scheduling a date with her to come and just do a presentation and show her some of the products. And she ended up giving me her address, which when I saw the address, I was a little nervous because of where she lived. Chicago is a beautiful, beautiful place, but it does have some really bad areas, and I try my best to avoid those areas, especially if I'm by myself. That particular date that we had scheduled, I did reach out to some people to see if somebody could join me, but nobody was available, so I ended up going with it anyway. So fast forward about a week, the day comes, I get off of work, go home and do whatever it is that I need to do. I end up getting all of the things that I need, and I was running late. I lived about an hour and a half from where she was at. So I go home and I get everything that I need. I get ready to head over to her house. I throw everything in my car, and I didn't really pay attention to how much gas I had, which I should have, but because I was running late, and I didn't want to be late. I didn't want to present myself as being a late person. I always loved being on time, and I still do. I love being on time to everything, especially if it's a meeting or something big that I have going on. I don't like being late. So I didn't really realize how much gas I had. I ended up realizing it when I was in the highway that I was running pretty low, but I was still okay to make it to her home. And I just figured I'll get there, and then after I'm done with everything, it's not going to be too dark, so I should be fine. And that way I would try my best to avoid pumping gas around her neighborhood, and just maybe next neighborhood I can pump some gas. So I get to her place and she's not home. It was about 6 o'clock, but this was in the summertime, so it was still nice and bright. So I end up calling her and I tell her that I'm outside her home. She tells me, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I had something to do. I'm actually running a little late. I am going to be there in about 20 minutes. Is that still okay?" And I said, "Well, I drove all the way over here, so I guess that's fine. I'll wait for her." I told her, yeah, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Just take your time, do whatever you need to do. So 20 minutes later, she's still not home. So I didn't want to push it. I wait about 5 or 10 minutes. So I end up calling her again. 20 minutes later, she's still not home. I didn't really want to push, so I decided to wait about 5 or 10 minutes. 10 minutes later, I end up calling her and I say, "Hey, I just want to let you know that I'm still here. I just want to know if you're coming. If you can't make it, that's completely fine. We can reschedule." And she said, no, don't worry about it. I'm gonna be there. I'm like about 5 minutes away. So I wait 5 minutes. She thankfully arrives, but keep in mind this is about 30 minutes later, right? So 30 minutes later, it is now about 6:30-ish. So when she arrives, I realize that she's with 4 other ladies, and we go into her home and she tells me, "I'm sorry it took me a little bit longer. I ended up picking up my sisters because they wanted to get a facial as well." I had told her that with the presentation, I was going to do a facial so that she can take a look at the product and take a feel of what the product felt like, and she agreed to it and she loved the idea. So that is why she went to go pick up her sisters so that I can also do a facial for them. So they had like a little spa moment. So keep in mind that I had thought that I was only going to be doing a facial and be showing her the presentation only for her. I had no idea that she was going to be inviting other people. She had not mentioned anything to me, so I was not really fully prepared for being there longer than I needed to be. As far as time goes, I thought that I was going to be there max 1 hour and that I was going to be out of there by like 8 o'clock. But that did not happen because they ended up getting a facial as well. And from one conversation to another, it just took a very long time. I ended up finishing with everything around 10 p.m., which was so much more longer than I had expected. I really thought I was going to be out of there within an hour, and that didn't happen. So I ended up saying my goodbyes, and I realized that it's really late. There's some gas stations that closed early around the area, so I couldn't really go to those. I head to my car, I start loading it up with all of my stuff, and I get this feeling that someone is watching me. You know that feeling when you feel like there's just something not right? It's like your intuition is speaking to you. I felt like somebody was watching me, but it was really dark out and I really didn't want to turn around and take a look who was there. I just wanted to get out of there as quick as possible. So I load up my car and I get in it. I turn it on and I lock my doors right away because I already know that the area is not a good area. I really wasn't expecting to get out of there so late. So I get in my car, I lock it, right? And I put in my GPS and I can't get it to load. It's just not working. And I really want to get out of there. So I slowly start getting out of the parking lot. So as soon as I get my GPS going, I start trying to look for a gas station around the area because at this point, my car is blinking at me that it's running low on fuel. And I'm afraid to go any further and be stranded in the middle of this neighborhood. And I just really wanted to just pump gas and get the heck out of there. So I start driving and I start looking for a gas station. At this point, I am just freaking out because my car is already blinking that I need fuel. And I really am not paying too much attention to what's behind me. I'm just focused looking at the sides, trying to find a gas station. I end up finding one, but it was not in a good area. There was a bar right across from it, and I really did not want to pump gas there. So thankfully, I end up finding a gas station. It's close to the highway, and I think that I'm good. I get off, I pump gas, and I'm trying to be as quick as possible. But for my luck, the pump was taking way too long. I really wanted to get the heck out of there as soon as possible. So I end up pumping about 20 bucks. That's it. I really just wanted to get out of there. So I get to the gas station, I get off, I start pumping gas. For my luck, this pump is taking forever. I am trying to get the heck out of there as soon as possible and hop on the highway as quick as I can. This thing's taking forever, so I end up pumping like 20 bucks and that's it. So I get back in my car and now I realize that my phone is about to die. So I'm scrambling in my car trying to find a charger. I couldn't find one. I wanted to plug it in so that I can hop on the highway and then just head home. I end up finding a charger. I plug my phone in, make sure that I'm still in the right route. So at this time I realize that there is a car behind me who is not really pumping gas. He's just kind of like standing off to the side in the gas station. And I realized that he has only his yellow lights on. He doesn't have his regular headlights on. And I found him to be a little suspicious the way that he was just off to the side. So I just dismissed it, but I do have a very uneasy feeling. And I just remember putting my GPS back on and I start heading out of the gas station. Because I have that very uneasy feeling, I look up in my mirror and I see that that car that was right behind me, he has now turned on his headlights and is slowly driving behind me. I am feeling very uneasy, but I don't want to panic. I don't want to jump into conclusions and thinking something bad, or I didn't want to go there. So I just continued driving. At this point, it's about 5 minutes until I reach the exit to hop onto the highway. But this whole time, I did realize that he was like a little bit further behind me, but yeah, he was still behind me. So I hop into the highway. I am just jamming to my music. I'm not paying any attention to the cars behind me. But then I go into merge to the next lane and I look up into my mirror again and I realize that that car behind me looks very familiar. And I really don't want to believe that it's the same car that I saw at the gas station, which freaked me out a little bit. But I start going at a higher speed and I merge into the next lane. And at this point, I feel like I have lost him. Like he is no longer behind me and I'm just being paranoid. So I drive for another 20 to 30 minutes. I go into the closest lane to take my exit, but I realize that that car is still behind me. So I really don't want to continue going to the direction that I was going to because I'm just feeling paranoid and I don't want him to know where I'm exiting. So I end up just skipping my exit and I continue driving. I then end up taking the next exit, which is the neighboring town. Since his headlights were way too bright, I wasn't really able to tell what his license plate number was. As soon as I take that exit, I realized that it's the same white car that was at the gas station. It was like a small mini SUV. I wasn't really able to tell the make or model of the car, but I realized that it was the same car. I end up freaking out and panicking at this time. I am super paranoid. I feel like he really is following me now and I don't know what to do. So I just continue driving and I go into a big hotel that was right there and I go into the parking lot. I wait for a little bit and I pay attention to my mirror to make sure that he is still not behind me, because what are the odds? He's going to the same place that I'm going to, the same hotel. So I end up just parking and waiting a little bit. And when I think that I'm good, I get ready to leave. And then I realize that that car is parking into a parking spot right behind me over to the side. And I'm thinking, there's no way. There's absolutely no way that he is going to the same place that I'm going to. Really, the same place? Which I really wasn't going there. I just took that exit because I was paranoid. I just wanted to play it safe and not completely head over to my house so that if he was following me, he doesn't know where I live. So when he parks over to the side, I panic. And at this point, I'm calling a friend and I'm letting her know what just happened in case that something happens to me. This is what's going on. I want to update you. And then I end up calling my mom and she tells me not to head straight home. I end up getting off my car. I head inside and while I'm there, I tell one of the persons at the front desk what was happening. I let them know that I feel like I'm being followed and I just want to hang out there for a little bit. They said that that's completely fine. And I just ended up waiting about 15 minutes. They had cameras leading into the parking lot, so they were able to see if that car was still there, which they ended up telling me that that car waited there for about 5 minutes and then it circled around twice, which, tell me why did he have to do that? He or she or whoever was in that car, it just made no sense. But that was confirmation that they really were following me and they were probably waiting for me to come out, because I don't have any other explanation. So I just waited there a little bit longer. Eventually they ended up leaving and I waited another 10 minutes and then I left. That is the story of when I was followed. I was so worried. At first I really didn't want to believe that I was being followed, because what are the odds? Sometimes we think that that just can't happen to me, but you just really never know. And I really was in a really bad neighborhood. Like I said, I tried my best to avoid pumping gas in that neighborhood and I just didn't have time to pump gas before I left. I had to end up pumping gas in that area. I have no idea if that was the same person that I felt was watching me when I was loading my car. I wasn't paying attention to my surroundings. I was just trying to get the heck out of there as soon as possible. But then I felt very paranoid once I was at the gas station. I noticed that car, and it's just really odd that he happened to go to the same area that I ended up at, but I ended up just going there because I wanted to stay safe and I didn't want to go straight home. So I am so glad that I did that and that I waited, because you just never know. And if there's anything that you can get off of this story is to be very vigilant. Make sure that you're always watching your surroundings, and if you are alone, that you pump gas in your area before you leave anywhere. It is better to be safe than sorry. And even if you're late, that's completely fine. Your safety is first. So make sure that you're always safe, that you pump gas before you leave anywhere, especially if you're driving far. Make sure that you get everything taken care of before you leave and that you're safe on the road. And always make sure that you let somebody know where you're going. And I am no longer in any MLM, so I am no longer doing any of these presentations or going to any crazy places that I don't need to be. So I'm so grateful for that I got out of all of that, and I am trying to stay safe and always be very vigilant. But that is all I have for today's story time. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more upcoming videos. Thank you so much for stopping by, and until next time, bye.